third time?
This is our third time in Japan, yeah.
So what is your impression about this country?
Ever since the first time, you know, I mean, we've been blown away every time we're here. You know, the hospitality is just amazing. The shows are so great for us. I mean, generally, you know, the people's passion for music, you know, they're not afraid to show you that they really love the music that they listen to, and I respect that so much. And it's such a beautiful country, and we just enjoy ourselves every time we're here, and hopefully in the future we can come back all the time.
So let's talk about your new album, Brain Dead. So the album starts with a rather slower song. So I thought it was a kind of manifestation to be slowing down. So was it your intention?
Well, you know, actually the decision to actually release Antidote as the first song for the first single, it was kind of like that we were thinking that it's like the last song that people would expect us to release, you know, a slower song than from what we've done before. You know, it had melodies, it had some different kind of singing styles and stuff, and I think we thought that it would be cool to release that first, just to show people, first of all, that Lost Society is capable of doing much more than just what we've done with the first two albums. Now, of course, there's always going to be the aspect of, you know, the speed metal, the thrash metal and stuff like that, but we wanted to show people that we can also slow down, but yet keep the aggression that's in the music. And also, I feel that we introduced a lot of new kinds of things in that song that people will probably see from us in the future much more.
You know, there are a lot of thrash metal bands from the 80s took the same path. You know, they sometimes slowed down for their third album. What was it your intention to?
Well, no, I think it was just, you know, the fact that when we had made two albums that had really fast songs, like from start to finish, it might have been something that we thought of, like in the unconscious, that, you know, that now we'll start doing this kind of things, but we never think about anything like that when we go to write music, that, you know, we just clear our minds. We don't think about what we should do, what would be different and shit like that. We just write what comes to mind. And now it so happened that, you know, the first songs that we made were a bit slower. They had some melodies and some new things that we really liked. And I mean, well, yeah, that's basically how it just started out. And I think it's because, you know, we've been playing together with these guys for 5 years now, and we've really learned to, you know, work with each other in the writing process, that everyone gives out some of their own kind of influences into the songs to make them even more diverse. And I feel that, of course, during the years, you know, we've added some new genres and new bands that we listen to, and I think now we could finally get some of those into the songs.
So it was much more spontaneous than intentional.
Yeah, definitely, because we don't want to say to each other that, okay, now we've done two fast albums, let's make a slow album just for the hell of it. It's just that we'll continue always to write the kind of music that we love to play. I think that's how it should be.
So how was the reaction from the fans?
It was actually really good. It was really good in the sense that, of course, there was a lot of people who in the beginning were really shocked and when there was only the one song out. But even, you know, even when that one single was out, I feel that we got a lot of new listeners who might have not liked the first two albums, but then when we got the kind of new style out, then they were like, oh cool, we could listen to this. And of course, you know, after the initial shock of our like hardcore fans, when the whole album came out and they heard it from start to finish, then they were like, oh, okay, now I get it. Because of course, when you release only one single, it's impossible to kind of know what the whole album is going to be like. So, you know, at the end of the day, it was really good feedback, and especially when the whole album came out, you know, people just said that, okay, now we can see that there's definitely been development with this band, and that's always great to hear.
Okay. So what bands are your main musical influences?
Well, from, you know, the old school stuff, like our roots, they lay very heavily, you know, with bands like, well, with the classic bands, let's say that, it's, you know, Anthrax, Megadeth, like kind of the first albums of those bands. Then there's Exodus, of course. I think that's like my favorite thrash metal band. Slayer, all of that stuff. That's like basically the thrash metal part of the band. But then, you know, there's bands like Pantera. I'd say that that's been also a huge influence in our music. I think from album number 1 until this day, people can hear that there's a lot of groove-oriented kind of stuff, which has heavily come, of course, from bands like Pantera and Rage Against the Machine, stuff like that. Then there's, of course, you know, the kind of crossover feel from, you know, Suicidal Tendencies, SOD, municipal waste, stuff like that. So I'd say that it's kind of a mixture of all of this. And then, you know, with the new album, I'd say that there's like some more modern bands that we've started listening to, you know, maybe some hardcore bands, more of the punk aspect, getting into it. So it's just, I'd say that Lost Society is, you know, just a mixture of a lot of bands. We take in this and that from all these kinds of things and mold it all together and add our own style, and that's how the songs basically get their form.
Speaking of Pantera, you covered the song from the power metal. I think it's kind of rare, usually.
Yeah. It was actually cool, you know, when we recorded it and when we released the album, that like a majority of people thought that it was our song. Because I mean, in that way, I think it's also so cool that we released that cover track, because I think that people might, you know, find the power metal album through that. And because I mean, I think it's a killer record. It's a great record, but people rarely listen to it, or people rarely even know that that it exists. But you know, it kind of started off from a joke, just because we have, you know, we had the Kiss cover on the first record, we had the Twisted Sister cover on the second. So we decided at once that, okay, let's go with, you know, something that's fun and people can, you know, have a bit of a laugh to it. And then we remembered that we've played it live actually a couple of times, PST 88. And I mean, because we've always wanted to cover Pantera, but there's the obvious fact that, you know, every Pantera song is just as well as can be. It's so good, so it would be impossible to make an improvement, and if we did it badly, it could end up very bad. So we thought that, well, hey, let's maybe touch the power metal album, because most of the people don't even know it exists, and I'm really happy actually with the cover. I think it came out really cool, and it's just like showing people a different side of Pantera and a big side of us.
Yeah, and as you said, you covered Kiss and Twisted Sister. Why do you usually do the covers of those, you know, heavy metal bands, not thrash metal bands, you know, thrash classics?
Well, I think it goes down to like what I said about Pantera also, that I think that most of the thrash metal songs, you know, they kind of don't give us very many possibilities to alter them in many ways, because when we play the same genre as, like for example, if we would take Angel of Death from Slayer, it would be impossible to do anything different because it's just so perfect. But then when you go to bands, you know, from the 80s, like the more like hair metal bands and rock and roll bands, they give us like possibilities to play them obviously faster, add some solos, and do something different, because we've never really like made them totally different, but we want to give some of our own spice to it anyway. That's why we've done Kiss and Twisted Sister, and I'm sure maybe we'll do some more rock and roll or pop in the future.
Okay, so you all are very young. So how did you find the thrash metal in the very beginning?
Well, for me personally, it was back in, I don't even remember the year, but I was 7 years old, and my big brother introduced me to Iron Maiden. That has been my all-time favorite band ever since that. That was the first touch to heavy metal that I got. And you know, when I started listening to metal, it was Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Accept, bands like that. And then this one day I listened to Cowboys from Hell from Pantera, and after that I heard, like, I think it was Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth, and I was like, okay, this is interesting, and I started digging into those bands, and kind of then I realized that, oh, so you can do this even more aggressively, and then I like found the whole thrash metal thing. So it was, the first bands were Megadeth, Anthrax, then I got into Exodus and Slayer, and from then on it was just all about, you know, all kinds of metal. I wasn't ever that guy that listened to only one kind of music, because I always love to hear new bands, I love to hear new styles. So I've been just listening to all kinds of metal, but that's how it started. And the thing that I loved so much about thrash metal was that, because at the time I also loved punk rock. So I mean, because that's what essentially thrash metal is. It's just heavy metal and punk rock put together, and it's just the raw energy in it that I love about it. You know, you go to a show, it's like going to the gym. You just give all you have, and you end up with just, you know, you can let all of your aggression go, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you why it was not death metal or black metal.
Well, that was for me, I mean, I think it was, I mean, I have nothing against black metal or stuff like that, but for me it just seemed like the obvious choice, because also, you know, with thrash metal, one of the things, like for example Anthrax, you know, they always had like kind of the happy attitude, you know, they didn't care if they smile on stage and have this kind of humoristic attitude. And because I mean, we've had the same thing from day one, you know. We don't want to take ourselves too seriously, because at the end of the day, we're just four guys who are having the time of their lives, and we love what we do. And that's been important for me. So that's why I ended up with a style that was, you know, more like, it was, how would I say, like, that you don't need to be serious all the time and have a grin on your face. I'm not an angry guy, so probably that's why I didn't want to do death metal or black metal or stuff like that.
Okay. You said you like the crossover stuff. I heard a lot of influence from SOD, Lost Society music. So, and you said you like the punk rock. So can you mention your favorite punk bands?
The first couple of punk bands that I heard was Bad Religion and Anti-Flag. Those have been always like my two favorite bands. And I mean, there's a bunch of bands that I listen to from that kind of axle. Of course, then there's the crossover stuff. Municipal Waste is definitely my favorite. Suicidal comes as a close second to that. Then I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that I like. But from the punk side, it's definitely been Bad Religion, Anti-Flag. Then there's the more like mellow pop punk stuff that I also like. So it's a bunch of bands.
Okay. Then who are your favorite vocalists?
My favorite vocalists, I'd say, not as vocalists who haven't been that big of an influence for this style that I do now, you know, the growling stuff, of course, like the best vocalist in the world is Bruce Dickinson, for me, always. And for him, like the thing that's influenced me the most has been basically like the front man thing, you know, because I mean, I've always looked up to him. I love the way that he gets the crowd hyped up. I think that's awesome. And you know, after that, I'd say that my favorite vocalists are, well, Alex Elihu from Children of Bodom, being a huge influence on me. Phil Anselmo from Pantera, of course. I'd say that my style has basically formed from these two singers, like basically molded them together, and I got the style that I have right now. So I mean, those are the two vocalists I look up to like super much.
Yeah, because your stage performance is very outstanding, so maybe the Bruce Dickinson is your role model.
Well, he is definitely my role model in every sense of the word. I mean, it's like you're running around everywhere getting the crowd hyped up, and just, I mean, the ultimate, you know, fucking heavy metal god for me.
Okay, and what about guitarists?
For guitarists, well, number one, I'd say that it's Alex Elihu too. He's just like a lot of the stuff that I learned in the beginning was from him. And then, of course, also my big brother, who actually got me into guitar playing. He's always been like my biggest idol in that stuff. Then also, you know, there's a mixture of, you know, Paul Gilbert being a huge influence. It's been Marty Friedman, George Lynch, Dimebag Darrell, of course, huge influence. So it's been like, there's been a ton of guitarists that I've listened to and always loved their styles, and you know, of course, I borrow some stuff from them, hidden some of my own stuff. So, hell yeah, there's a lot of good guitarists out there.
Okay. So, what would you say about the Finnish scene? Finnish scene is very different, you know, because heavy metal is very popular.
Yeah, it's definitely true. You know, one of the things that helped us out a lot while starting a band and trying to break was the fact that we were in Finland, because I would say that in the sense that it's a bit easier to, you know, bring your band out because there's so many possibilities. You know, they offer a lot of rehearsal places, a lot of shows for bands, even if you're under 18 and over 18, of course, in bars and stuff. And I mean, the scene is huge there, and I think one of the coolest things is also that, you know, it's such a small country, so it's kind of like that if you get into the music scene, everyone knows everybody. You'll be at one show and you'll see the guitarist of this other band who in turn knows this person, this person, this person. But the only thing that's different, of course, is that, like, or why it's so weird that we kind of broke out, is that it's usually death metal, doom metal. It's kind of like the more melancholic stuff. I'd say that the Finnish metal scene is full of that. But then it was kind of unusual for people to see a thrash metal band come out of Finland. But after we released Fast Live Death, it was cool to see that a bunch of, you know, like 14, 15-year-olds came out with their own thrash metal bands, and there's been super much like thrash metal in Finland after that came out, which is always cool.
Okay. So, can you recommend some young, great Finnish bands?
Hell yeah! I mean, from the thrash metal side, I think one of the coolest bands is from Helsinki. They're called Nuclear Omnicide. They're good friends of ours. I mean, a really killer band. And then there's, you know, I mean, there's been a lot of bands, you know, guys come out to our shows, they give us our demos, their demos, and of course right now I don't remember the band's names, but we listen to them and we're like, this is awesome that people are, you know, continuing this thing, so it's safe to say that thrash metal will never die, at least in Finland.
Yeah, because it's kind of strange because in the 80s, Finland didn't have any, you know, so many thrash metal bands.
Yeah, they had a couple of bands, you know, obviously the biggest one was Stone.
Yeah.
Stone, and there was Air Dash, those are the, and then this band called ARG. And so there were a few, but it definitely, I couldn't say, or of course I don't know, I didn't live at those times, but I don't know if there was like a scene or was it just a few bands.
Okay. So, can you name your top 5 all-time thrash metal albums?
Yeah, I'd say number one, probably my favorite thrash metal album is Tempo of the Damned by Exodus. It was the first kind of thrash metal album, you know, that you could hear the aggression so much. I mean, for me, of course. Then second, I'd say Killing Is My Business, Megadeth, a classic. I don't think I need to explain that. It's just because it was also so aggressive, you know, so badass. And number 3, Among the Living, of course. 4, now I'm saying just the classics, but I mean you can't beat the classics. But Raining Blood, of course, is number 4, and for number 5, I gotta name the last one. What would I say? I'd say that, well, in terms of thrash metal, it would probably actually be Peace Cells by Megadeth also.
So 2 Megadeth.
Yeah, 2 Megadeth, because I mean, it was, I have to say that I was more of a Megadeth guy than a Metallica guy, always. For me, Megadeth was just like the band for me, you know, they formed the thing with the whole genre with these other bands, and I mean, it's a really cool band. I've always loved it, and as you can see also from this list, you know, I'm being kind of like the guy who loves the classic bands. That, of course, there's some bands, you know, that I've got like these more unknown thrash metal bands maybe, but I stick to the classics usually.
Yeah, I hear a lot of influence from Killing Is My Business on where you were.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean that was for me that's the ultimate Megadeth album. I mean it's just the raw attitude in it. You can really hear that Dave Mustaine is fucking pissed off.
It's very technical, catchy. It's everything. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your future plan?
Well, future plans are like, you know, this year again, it's gonna be all about the touring now that we have the new album out. It's gonna be, you know, we have an ongoing Finnish tour at the moment. When we get back, we're continuing that, then we go to Russia, then we stop for a couple of weeks, then it's festival season in Finland and all over Europe. And for the rest of the year, like the ultimate plan would be just to tour, do another European tour, maybe get somewhere, you know, further than Europe, because I mean we're always down to, you know, going to new places and seeing new audiences and stuff, but it's gonna be about the touring, and I'd probably say that, you know, all of the days off that we have in Finland, we're just gonna be writing new music and playing our asses off at the rehearsal place, because that's just what we love to do.
Okay, great. Okay, and for the last, can you give the message to the Japanese fans and to the camera?
Of course. Which camera do I look? This one. To all of the Lost Society fans in Japan, thank you for the amazing support towards us. We really could not do this without you, and thank you so much for getting the albums. And if you don't know who we are, check out Lost Society and come to the shows and see you in a town near you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cheers, dude.